Hi friends, welcome to my channel. This is Amber Michelle and I am so thankful that you decided to click on this video today. Today here it is Sunday and I am currently 17 weeks. Today I will show a belly shot in this video. I wanted to talk to you about how the experience went finding out that I was pregnant for the actual 9th time. I have 7 children. My oldest, Addie Reagan, is 17. And then the age range goes down to my baby who is 2. We have 5 daughters and 2 sons. And we will be finding out what we're having May 22nd and doing a gender reveal. But until then, just waiting. It's been so weird with the new rules and regulations for going to the doctor. So they've cut out our 16-week appointment. So it'll be 7 weeks when I go to the doctor for my ultrasound since I've seen a doctor, and that's really strange. I do sound like I'm out of breath, and that's how I sound every pregnancy. Imagine when I come up the stairs, it's just ridiculous. So bear with me. I'm gonna take my time and try not to breathe too crazy. But I wanted to start off with this video talking about my miscarriage that I had in December. And so we made a video announcing our pregnancy when I was 11 weeks, I believe, and posted that video to tell everyone that we were expecting, but I didn't really go into detail about the miscarriage. And so I wanted to tell my story, tell this baby that we'll see in heaven one day story, and then talk about how I found out I was pregnant. So in December, I knew that my husband and I could get pregnant, but if you are anything like some people are so regular with their cycles, that is not me. That has never been me. So when I was young, I thought it was because I was athletic. I was super athletic as a young person. And so I would have maybe 4 cycles a year all through being a teenager. It was always unexpected. And I never got tested to see if anything was wrong. That's how my cycles were. And so when I got married, me and my husband, I had gotten on the pill, and it was really the worst thing that I had ever done because I didn't feel like myself. I didn't necessarily gain weight or get bloated like some women talk about. I just was miserable. It was like in the mind, I couldn't figure out what is going on. Who am I? I just didn't feel like me. And that was so strange. So I had been on the pill for 4 to 5 months. I had horrible breakthrough bleeding, even on my honeymoon. So that was annoying. So I told my husband, of course I was young and naive. I was 21 years old. And I had told him that, hey, let's just get off of the pill. It took my parents a long time to get pregnant with me. We may be the same. So we did. I got off of birth control, and I was pregnant 6 weeks later. So obviously I have not had any trouble conceiving. The only trouble that I've had is being able to track when things are happening with my body because I can go months without a cycle. In saying that, I have had seasons after having children, when I wasn't nursing, I've had seasons where my cycles were super regular. In other words, like for me, regular would be around 35 days apart. My cycles have never been closer than that, really ever. I am currently 39 years old, and after my 7th, which is Magnolia, she is 2, I got my cycle back when she was 19 or 20 months old. So it was a long time. And that's mostly from nursing, but I find that the older I'm getting, the longer it's taken to come back. So it took a while for them to come back. When they did, my first cycle was 65 days apart, and then 54 days, and then 40 something days. So they were not regular. And I didn't even think, I've had doctors tell me, earlier when we were trying for our first 2 babies, well, after our first one, we got pregnant at 6 weeks, but for Mia, we tried for 10 months. And then for Trinity, it was only 4 months. But When you're in it, it does feel like longer, a long time. 10 months feels like a long time. And so doctors have said that if you're longer than 45 days apart from your cycles, that you're probably not ovulating, which you have to ovulate to get pregnant. Okay, so wasn't sure if I was ovulating at the time. I'm really in tune with my body. The older I get, I'm noticing that I totally know what's going on. I can feel and sense and know what certain feelings are, just because I've done it so many times and I'm older. When I was young, I didn't know anything. I know that's not the case now, but back when I was in my 20s, we didn't have a quick Google on our phone to figure everything out. You read a book to know what's going to happen, like when you're pregnant and when you have a baby. And so I have learned so much and done so much research and gained a lot of knowledge about pregnancy and a lot of experience because I've had 7 kids. And so anyway, after 4 months, I believe, maybe it was 5 months, in December on the 13th, I just randomly would take, I got really cheap tests from Amazon, pregnancy tests, and I randomly took one because I knew it was a while since my last cycle. I kind of keep track of how many days it's been. And so I took a test, left it, and didn't check it. I went to work. I work at a dance studio. And so I went to teach dance, came home, and I was getting out the tub and I said, oh yeah, I took that test. And I picked it up and it had a very faint line on it. And so, of course, inside I'm like freaking out, I'm jumping. I've never had a chemical pregnancy. I've never had, up to this point, a miscarriage. There was one time I had the Paragard IUD between Samuel and Stella. And there was one time that I felt, and I've heard that this can happen, that I may have had like a chemical pregnancy, but it was never confirmed. I had never had a pregnancy test to know anything. It just was a much heavier odd period maybe. So anyway, I was freaking out inside and I was like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Another, 2 weeks and it's Christmas and I'll be able to tell my family and surprise all of them. And I was very excited about that. So inside I'm just excited. I'm pregnant. And so in the morning, of course, what did I do? I have all these little cheap pregnancy tests. So I took another pregnancy test and it was just as faint. And so there was an obvious line, but it wasn't like, oh wow. It was like, oh yeah, there's the line. It was really faint. And normally any pregnancy that I've had, any consecutive test that I took was at least somewhat darker. And so I kind of was like, okay, and took one again that night and took one the next morning. Well, by the 3rd day, I really felt like something's wrong. I'm either like so early, I don't know of many times of this happening that it was a good outcome. So the tests were just super faint. And it wasn't until on the Friday, this was a Monday when I had the initial test, Monday night. And on the Friday morning when I woke up, I felt off. And when I took that test, it was darker than any of the other ones had ever been, but it was still so faint. I knew something was off. I called my doctor and the doctor said, all we can do is draw blood work and get your HCG levels, and then you'll come back in a couple days and we'll check your levels again. So I was totally gonna go, even though no one knew I was pregnant, my husband or my daughters or any of my family. And I was gonna sneak out and go, but when I went to the bathroom, I felt like I'm starting my period, is the way I can explain it. And so lo and behold, I was bleeding. This experience of the chemical pregnancy was, like I said, something I had never been through. I know that they say a little bit worse or could be much worse than a period, and it was definitely worse. It didn't look the same. In other words, I had small little blood clots, and they were dark clots in my in the blood, and then a lot of cramping. And so I didn't know, I knew I was pregnant for just literally 5 days. But if you've ever experienced that, you have to know that you have thought it all out, you're excited, you know your due date. And it was really, it was super devastating. And we had people coming over that Friday night. And, you know, I think if this would have happened when I was much younger, I think it would have been a lot tougher to navigate. But being older, it just seemed that there was a peace behind it, and the Lord was there helping us through this situation. So this is what I did. I went through that day without telling anyone that I was having a miscarriage. And that night, after our company had left, I sat on the bed and I held the last test that I had taken, which was a digital test. And it said no with a negative sign. But I had ripped that test open because I wanted to see what the lines looked like. And that there was an obvious line. So the HCG was just that low, obviously, because I had a miscarriage. But my husband walked in and I just pulled that strip out and I said, I just want to tell you that we were pregnant, but today I started having a miscarriage. And it was like, I don't know if I can say it without crying, partly because I'm very pregnant and partly because it was just a tough situation. And he cried, and we just held each other and cried for a while. And so I didn't know if this is like, okay, you're getting older, your body is, you know, not doing as fantastic of a job of hosting babies, or if it was just a fluke thing, or if there was really something wrong with this baby and it would have been a bad outcome had, you know, it stuck. So we held each other and cried, and I told him, look, Tommy, I want to tell the 3 older girls. And he said, okay, let's do that. So we went downstairs and we sat them all down and we told them what happened. And our 12-year-old is a baby fanatic. She told us she's going to give us 100 grandbabies. I'm all for that. But she was really hysterical. And Addie and Mia, you know, you could tell they were really sad. They're teenagers, and just navigating those emotions were interesting. But it was hard for me to tell them. But I wanted them to know, because I wanted them to know, look, this is what my body's going through. And actually the hormones on that were like crazy. I was super surprised that only at, you know, that early, it was less than 5 weeks pregnant, that I had that strong of hormones. That Saturday I cried all day. I think Tommy and I got even an argument. I was just completely emotional, hormonal wreck. It really was. And so the bleeding went for 5 to 6 days. It was pretty heavy bleeding. And the good thing is it was Christmas season, holiday season. So I had a lot to distract me and a lot to stay busy with. I have a lot to stay busy with in life in general, because I homeschool 5 of my 7 kids. 2 of them are still young, and just life and the holidays and stuff. So I was definitely busy and distracted with that. So anyway, all of that happened, and we never told anyone besides our 3 girls, partly because I think I was like, well, people are going to be expecting an announcement after that I'm going to, you know, be pregnant. I don't know. I just didn't want to tell anybody. And looking back, I always feel differently about things. There are a couple people I wish I would have confided in, people who have been through that before. Anyway, but the Lord really helped us through that situation. And we went through the holidays, had a great Christmas. It was a really good holiday season. And then I started bleeding on December the 13th, bled for right about 6 days. And I always know when I'm ovulating. I can tell what my body is doing. I can tell that I'm, you know, having ovulation. So I had no ovulation symptoms for weeks. And I was like, man, okay, I guess your body just has to adjust after a miscarriage. And I didn't even know if I would miss a cycle or anything like that, because like I said, I've never been through that before. But I was just waiting week after week. I think 4 weeks and went by. I never felt ovulation. So I was like, okay, you know, just going on about life, because we weren't frantically trying to have a baby. We weren't not trying to have a baby. We were just completely open to what God had for us. You know, and some people have different opinions about that. Our opinion is being fully surrendered in every area of our life. We were fully surrendered in that area too. And so, I want to say 6 weeks after that, I still hadn't had a cycle. And I was like, okay, this is getting a long time. But I didn't feel like I needed to take a test because I really didn't think I had ovulated. And so it was a Wednesday in January, around the 25th, I believe, of January. Me and my oldest son had went to Walmart after co-op. We had co-op that day, and we went and made a Walmart run, and I felt a wash over me. If any of you have been pregnant before, you're kind of gonna know maybe what I'm talking about, but I had this tired wash over me as we're walking through Walmart, and I was like, I know that feeling. I have had it before, maybe in a mild sense, and not been pregnant. Maybe it was something hormonal, but this one was like, I think I'm gonna go take a test at home. And I did have some tests left. So I got home, ran upstairs. Most of the kids were still at dance with Addie. Tommy wasn't home from work. And so I went in the bathroom, I took a test, and it was a cheap test, I believe, one of the small HCG strips from Amazon. And as it was going across, there was 2 pink lines, like definitely. And I really started panicking in a like, oh my gosh, is this a real way? Because I just didn't think I was pregnant. I didn't think I could have got pregnant because I had no ovulation symptoms whatsoever. And so I'm in there like, oh my gosh, I gotta go cook dinner. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Well, I knew I had a digital test in my closet. I pulled that test out and I'm like, okay, I'm not playing around. Is this gonna come up positive right away or whatever? So I took the St. P, dipped the test, and it was so fast, and it popped up yes with the positive sign. I'm like, this is like for real. I am pregnant, and I didn't expect to be, and it's, you know, the very next cycle after the miscarriage. And of course there were some reservations on my part of like, all right, I'm not gonna get too excited, you know, I don't know if my body is ready for this. I don't know, just so many different weird emotions and thoughts coming over my mind. So I had those 2 tests. The next day I took tests for 5 consecutive days after the initial pregnancy test on that Wednesday night. Every day it got darker until it was so dark. I was like, okay, no more tests for me. I kind of did like the whole test progression deal, and I called my doctor and made an appointment. I knew that I wasn't as far as they said because I felt where I was early, if that makes sense. Like I didn't feel like, oh yeah, I've ovulated way long ago, and so I just felt, but according to the date of my last cycle, or the date of the first day of the miscarriage, it was saying that I was 7 weeks by the time I went to the doctor. So she wanted to do an ultrasound just to see how far I was and how everything was. At this point, my husband didn't know, and none of my children knew. I wanted to make sure this time that everything was good, and I wanted to see what the ultrasound and the doctor said before I told everyone. And so I went in, it measured me 5 weeks and 3 days, which if you've ever had an ultrasound like that, you really don't come out with a lot of answers, because you see a little bitty ball and a little blob, and there's no heartbeat yet. And so it's good because you know you're pregnant, but it's also scary because you don't know if everything's good yet. So she wanted to see me again in 2 weeks for a follow-up ultrasound, and I went at 7 weeks and 5 days. But in between that, I wanted to tell Tommy. So I had the ultrasound pictures, and I had seen my doctor. They did lab work and blood work, and everything went really well with my blood work. And so I felt good about telling him, and I did. And so that is in that video where we told everyone that we were having a baby. And you can see my 3 daughters when we told them I have a clip of telling Tommy, and I also have a clip of telling some of my family when we visited South Carolina. And you can check that video out if you want to see some of that. But I told them, and we went to the 7-week ultrasound. Baby had a heartbeat. Baby looked great. Tommy was able to come with me for that one. And that's when I just felt good that, okay, everything's going to be okay. Once you see a heartbeat, it's just such a relief. And so after that, she wanted to see me again in 3 weeks for another ultrasound. So I had 3 ultrasounds in a row. And on the third one, I was 10 weeks and 5 days, I believe. And it was measuring just like 3 days ahead, which is perfect. It was measuring, the baby was measuring perfectly each time, and everything looked really great. And so then after that, I was supposed to just go to my regular appointments, but good old coronavirus has messed all of that up. And I did get to see the doctor again at 13 weeks. And at that point, they were able to hear the baby on Doppler. And really, I think the only thing they did at that appointment was the Doppler, check my weight, which I really haven't gained any weight. I'm already on the heavy side of what I ever weigh. And so I don't really need to gain any weight, and I don't think that's going to be an issue. Trying to eat healthy for the baby, of course, but also to not grow into a massive whale. So anyway, I tend to gain a whole lot of weight when I'm pregnant. I normally, as a younger person, did not have any trouble losing it, but these last 3, it hasn't been that simple. It takes some discipline and some work. And so here I am. I am 17 weeks today. I won't have an appointment until May 22nd, but at that appointment is our anatomy scan, and Tommy and I are not going to look at that ultrasound, because if we look for 1 second, I promise you, we are going to see the gender of that baby. And all of my kids are going to do something really fun and get to, it's the first time we've done this kind of gender reveal, but it'll probably be live because of the social distancing, whatever. We'll do like a live, and all of the kids will get to pop or, blow up something awesome, and we'll find out what we're having. My instinct is telling me that this is a boy. I've been wrong before. I have been wrong multiple times. I felt Mia was a girl. That was my second. And I felt Trinity was a girl. I prayed Joshua was a boy. I felt like I was having a boy. I knew 100% that Samuel was a boy. I haven't been wrong for all of them except for Addie. It was just the first one. I just knew she was a boy and she was a girl. But really, I feel like after thinking about it, the rest of them, I pretty much felt or knew what they were before we found out. And so this one, I feel like it's a boy. We'll see. I'm so excited for the gender reveal. I think it's going to be really fun. The kids all are kind of rooting boy, but I think they're happy either way. I'm happy 100% either way. I already have 5 girls. I have 2 boys. All of it's fun and fantastic and hard all at the same time. My kids fight. My kids are blessings. They all have different personalities. Figuring all this out has been quite the adventure. But I'm so excited for baby number 8, and that's where we are now. And so I'm going to wrap this video up. I know it has been a long one, and if you stuck with me, shoot a baby emoji down in the comments to let me know you saw this to the end. I love all of you, and here's an encouraging word. I'm stuck at home. We're all stuck at home, and sometimes it's tough. I feel like I do the same things every day. I'm tired of cooking. And this is just being really first world whiny. We are so blessed. None of us have been sick. You know what? Actually, the funny thing is us being quarantined, 4 of my children have gotten strep throat, which is interesting because we haven't gone anywhere. My doctor didn't want me going even to the store. So I haven't left the house except to take a drive now and then, because there's only so much I can take of being inside all of the time. Thank God for our pool, because it has saved the day many days. My heart breaks for my daughters who missed their competitions and my boys who are missing their baseball season. And I know some people have it way worse. Their weddings are canceled and vacations. I know it's so tough. I've tried to have a super positive outlook on the whole situation. I've tried to be encouraging to my family. I'm so thankful my husband still has his job, and actually the AC industry is, at least their business in particular, is booming. They're very busy right now. So thankful for that. I'm thankful that I get to still homeschool my kids every day, and our life in that way hasn't changed a whole lot. We usually are out 4 nights a week for dance, so it's definitely a much slower pace. I haven't done nearly as many projects as I wanted to do being stuck home. I thought I would just accomplish everything, and I do watch motivational YouTube videos to help with that, but I have been struggling really well. Even now I'm struggling with a tiredness and a weakness. My iron tested well, so I guess between nursing, being pregnant, balancing out the amount of calories that I'm taking in, sometimes I even get tired of eating. I haven't gained weight, so I know I'm not overdoing it on the calories, but I'm just really dealing with this, not a tiredness, sleepy, because if you watch my first trimester video, I really didn't deal with this pregnancy, which is normally something I deal with like really bad. So I'm not super tired. I'm not needing to lay my head down all the time. It's not that. It's a weakness that when my body is digesting, so after I eat, I just feel like I need to sit down. I feel like I don't have anything. There's nothing left to give. So I'm so thankful that I have older kids who have been helpful, and a husband who's been helpful when he's here, and family who is supportive. But hopefully I'm coming out of that stage as I'm getting closer to 20 weeks, because I can't see living like this for the next 23 weeks, but I know God's in control and he's got this. So encouragement for you today. We're all in the same boat, if that helps at all. Some of us have a lot different looking lives, but I think emotionally and mentally that this is taxing, and it's hard, and it's for me, I'm just ready for it to be over. I'm ready to go to the store for myself. I'm ready to do a lot of things, but I want what's best for everyone. I don't want to be selfish. I want what's best for our country. And so I'm just continuing to pray for the leadership of our country, and following what the Holy Spirit is leading us and guiding us to do. And hopefully you are the same and can be encouraged today and have joy even in these tough times. So thank you so much for joining me for this video. And don't forget, whatever you're going through, God is always there. Be blessed. Peace.